Hello, Buteyko community. I am joined here today by a fellow community member who has completed the level 1 training. So let's just dive right in. Can you share with us what brought you to the Buteyko method?
Right. So, it's a pleasure to be here and to share my own experience of transformation with the larger community. So honestly, I had three specific issues that I was trying to address for a very long time, and these were chronic issues. The first one was, I had this, I would say, problems associated with sneezing and runny nose and cold and those kind of things, which were there for quite some time. And these used to get accentuated in certain months. For instance, in monsoon, where you've got typically very humid weather, these would get accentuated. So that was the first problem with sneezing and runny nose and those kind of recurrent problems. The second problem was sensitivity to certain foods. So if I had, cold beverages, or if I had, things like curd, for instance, they would lead to, again, a lot of these episodes of sneezing and runny nose and stuff like that. The last one was really around a little bit of, I would say, suboptimal stamina when it came to physical exercises and specifically running. So I would be a little short of breath and stuff like that. So I never had very extreme symptoms the way typically, some of the people who are suffering from asthma have. But these were, sort of, I would say, good enough for me to do something about it. Honestly, I did not do anything about it. I was just kind of putting up with all these symptoms for a while till I started having some episodes of wheezing at night. And that really, compelled me to take the next step, because, I would just wake up at night because there was this little discomfort that I had started experiencing. And that's the time I saw a physician who told me, who put me on some medications. These were obviously non-steroidal to begin with, but he also advised me to try a lot of alternate, methodologies to address the issue. And I tried pretty much everything under the sun for about 4 months or so, 4 or 5 months, but nothing seemed to happen. So there's no improvement really. And the moment I stopped these medications, uh, the symptoms would come back again. So it was a very relapsing kind of a stage that I was going through. I saw the physician once again, and now he told me that, look, since nothing has happened, let's continue this for a month. But after that, we will put you, let's start with some very basic medications, like we'll start with some initial dose of inhalers, which will have some steroids in it. But I think that will, resolve this problem associated with wheezing and, cold and all those kind of things. And that's the time I did more research on alternate methodologies to address this issue. And that's where I came across Breathing Center, the Buteyko breathing techniques and stuff like that. I got more curious. I saw almost all the videos that were there on the breathing community, specifically the ones which were led by Sasha. And I got convinced that I need to really try something, different. And that's the reason I did the first session with Sasha, and then, decided to kind of start this course. So a very, very long response, I believe, to a short question that you had, but this helps give you some perspective, right?
So what made you decide, like it sounds like they kind of were taking you down the traditional medicine route and then you pivoted and started researching and then you went the direction of Buteyko. So why did you not continue with just going the medication route, and why did you pivot?
See, I wanted, I did not want to get on steroids at such an early stage of life. I still believe, you know, I'm young, so although I'm father of two, but I thought that, it's probably, if there is something which would stop me from getting in onto steroids, I would like to do that. I would like to try that out. The other thing was, most of these diseases are progressive in some ways, and I come from a little bit of healthcare background, so I do understand, how the diseases could worsen over a period of time. In which case, your medications are going to go up over a period of time, and then they would you would start having some side effects. So the best things for me was to preempt that stage of not getting into an advanced stage. So that's why I wanted to try this out.
How did you feel working with Fred, and as you were going into the training, how was that experience? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I started, the course with a pinch of salt, honestly, because I had done a lot of different breathing uh, techniques before, right? So I tried pretty much everything. I tried, so I don't want to name specific ones, but I had tried many things. So I was not too sure if this would work, but this was like the last ditch battle before I got into more medications. So I started with this. I think the first connect with Sasha was very reassuring, where she kind of told me that, probably there's 100% chance that, we can fix your issues, which is very reassuring. From there on, when it came to Fred, I think it was quite interesting that, the 8 sessions that we had, I didn't realize when we completed those. And the good thing about uh, Fred specifically was that, he's very patient, very empathetic. So he was there to kind of, answer the queries and really help me, uh, at different points on this journey, because I don't think there is the exercises and the methodology by itself is very complicated. I think it's about maintaining a good regimen, answering your queries, which would be very specific to your condition. I think those are the important points. And I think Fred actually took me through this journey quite seamlessly. And that really was helpful.
Can you speak to how your life is post training?
Yeah. So, the 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 technique itself and everything that I learned, I was able to apply that quite diligently. And you do that when you're, pushed to the wall. I think typically you do get very serious about this, right? So this was my best shot. So I was pretty diligent about implementing a lot of stuff that was discussed during the course, but it worked like a silver bullet for me, honestly. Uh, 3 months. So probably I started my course sometime in December and finished that in Feb end or March, March first week or so. I don't seem to have any of those issues now. So my issues with, recurrent sneezing and runny nose and cold, that's all gone completely. It's like fixed. My sensitivity to foods has again uh, gone down quite significantly. So I don't seem to have issues if I have. Obviously, I'm not pushing the limits here, but if I have, some cold drinks or things like that, I mean, I'm not really affected as much. And the third thing, now I'm able to also do running. So on treadmill, I've done like 30 minutes at a stretch, which I thought was unthinkable before. And overall, the problems associated with wheezing and getting up at night, those are completely resolved. So in 3 months, I think, this has worked like a silver bullet, I would say. And all those things look like, from my previous life now, honestly.
So would you recommend this training to other people?
100%. So, we actually wait till the time we are pushed to the wall. So in my case, that happened that I kept waiting for it because I was not aware of this, aware of Buteyko breathing exercises. But I think if you don't have to honestly wait till that stage, if you do it early on, it'll definitely be helpful. That's my experience. Also, the fact that you also have this sense of well-being. I don't know. I can't define that, um, very clearly, or I can't define that in words. But once these problems get fixed, you feel you're honestly in control of your life. You have a sense of well-being around you, and there is pandemic around us. I think most of us in different levels are going through this. But if you feel that your immune system is strong, you're in control, I think it helps you bring down the overall stress as well, that is on you. So I would 110% recommend this, not only for extreme cases of asthma and wheezing and stuff like that. You could try that earlier on if you have specific issues related to breathing.
Is there anything else you would like to share today that might help somebody who's considering taking this program? When you look back at your time when you were there with the doctor and they were kind of giving you this protocol, you didn't really want to go all the way, knowing that there's a lot of people in that situation, is there anything else you want to share with us today?
Right. I think the probably the decision making, I think it's all about taking that first step. So most people will just wait and watch and then suffer silently, I would say.
Mhm.
Uh, but if you take that first step to try something different, and what's the worst outcome that you can expect? It'll not improve, right? It'll not worsen because you're not trying to do your anything that is unnatural. You're just trying to get your breathing right, and that's so natural to anybody who wants to lead a very healthy life. So I think that that's the worst thing. In any case, from the past experience of that people have had, I think it's going to work on different cases. I'm not sure the time it would need for the issue to get completely resolved. So if you are somebody like me, you can see the results instantly. But from what I know, people see instant results right from week one of this training. So I think that's quite interesting. And I think the only thing that you should do is take that first step to try something new, and it could start with a consult, I would say. The other thing to uh, probably appreciate is the fact that the training is not just around breathing, right? So it gives you some additional tips to have healthy lifestyle through right uh, diet, through right I would say behavior, right mindset. So I think in that sense, it's quite holistic. It's not just centered around breathing, because breathing is one aspect that gets covered and where there is a lot of emphasis. But the other things, make this program more holistic. So now what happens is you can actually predict, when things could go wrong, and you're able to preempt, getting into that cycle of symptoms and medications and all of that. Because, so for instance, what happens if you deviate, right? So if let's say you had a glass of beer, which is pretty chill, but that's not something you should be having. So now you know exactly what needs to be done to be able to be in control and not get into that stage of having those symptoms. So I think in that sense, there are also some predictive tools that the course equips you with, which are also pretty useful, I thought. So that's the only other thing. I think the trainers are fantastic. So overall, it was a 100%, I would say, magic recipe that worked for me. Magical recipe.
Perfect.
I've become now very curious to understand the physiology and physiological reasons why you get into hyperventilation and what happens. Because I was always fascinated by those things because of my little bit of background, as I said. But now that you start understanding, why does somebody hyperventilate? How does body get into homeostasis? I mean, it's just fascinating to understand all of that. And what we are trying to do through medications is exactly stop the natural process of recovery that body gets into. So the more you fight it, the worse off are you going to be. And this is not true. This is not just limited to breathing. It's also true for any other bodily function. So if you think about obesity, for instance, right, the body is going to put you in a state of equilibrium. The more you get into, for instance, the restrictive diets, they're going to fail because you're trying to kind of breach that homeostasis.
Mhm.
Same is true with breathing. That the more you're trying to open up your airways through steroids and artificially, the more your body is going to fight. So you'll never get better. It's going to get worse. So I think those are some interesting, I would say, learnings that I've had in the past 8 weeks. And yeah, it's fascinating.
So what I'm hearing you say is you're interested in looking at like the lineage of where this all started and for like individually. And so for you, what have you discovered for your body? Like, where is that lineage that tied you to the outcome of hyperventilation?
So I am not too sure about that. I'm still trying to figure out, because none of my immediate family members have this issue.
Mm-hmm.
So my parents, my grandparents, they did not have any issues related to,
Okay.
or the symptoms related to hyperventilation. So there was something about, but some of them were allergic to certain foods. Some of them had allergies. So I think there could be something genetic as well about this, that that there is an allergic response that your body has. Now, the good thing in my case is that you're able to see those symptoms directly related to breathing. So you're taking that decision. There are a lot of people, I'm sure, where hyperventilation is leading to uh, ill effects beyond breathing, which are very silent in nature. So you don't know how hyperventilation is affecting your kidneys or your liver, for instance, because you're not able to see that. In case of breathing, it's so apparent that you will take some step to try and resolve it, right? So I think so. I've not been able to trace that exact, I would say, the genesis of this in some ways, or the lineage, but I think it has got something to do with allergic response to maybe air or something around you.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it all comes down to learning the language of your body. I mean,
Exactly.
the body's speaking to you, and unfortunately, the traditional response is to throw medication and suppress it. When if we just kind of flip that lens and go, no, the body's trying to talk to me, let's listen, and then go to root level to address it, then this is where your long lasting results come in. So
Because the thing that I used to test is, I was told that you should take this pill, and it's called a leukotriene blocker. So essentially, it blocks certain enzymes which lead to constriction. So it's not really a steroid, but so in US I think you get Singulair, which is very similar to that.
mm-hmm.
Uh, so so what happens is, they told me that you should have this every day, right? Once at night. So I would not have it for a day. I was just experimenting to see if I can live without it for an additional day. So I would have it once every alternate day. So then I started having it once every 2 days. But then, once I had it every 2 days, the symptoms would come back. So I knew that this is not resolving it. And when I tried to do a lot of other things, like other breathing exercises and stuff like that, I did not see any results. It was giving me it would give you a sense of additional energy if you did those other exercises, but they never resolved your symptoms. And the thing with Buteyko exercises for that, I saw the results in the first week, when we had not even started with the breath holds and the advanced, I would say, the breathing exercises. It was just relaxation, and with relaxation, I was like, this is crazy. I was trying a lot of other things, and with just relaxation, I was able to overcome wheezing at night and stuff like that. So I said, this is different. And that's when I actually read the book as well, to see that, let me try and understand what's happening now. And that actually led me from one thing to the other, to connect it with other diseases, and synthesize what was happening around me, because I had done a lot of analysis, but it was important for me to synthesize now, to see
Yeah.
how this works in different scenarios. And now, if somebody comes to me and says, I've got, somebody suffering from blood pressure, I'm always wondering, is he really hyperventilating, and is that leading to hypertension, for instance? And in all probability, that might be the cause. Nobody will know it. The person will not know it. He will die before realizing that he's suffering from hyperventilation, right?
Yeah.
So that has been the interesting discovery of going through this process.
You're really connected to your body, and that pays off.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you know what's good, what's bad, and you know how to overcome a lot of things. So you get a little bit more acute in terms of understanding what your body is saying, right? So which initially was not there. So now you know how to slow down and understand What's the trigger? What's going to lead? So in the mornings when I get up, Terry, at times, I know that probably for whatever reasons I have overslept that has led to hyperventilation, or it's been something else related to stress. And I
Mhm.
know that, probably I'm going to have a bout of sneezing. I can avoid that with some breath holds, and I don't get into that stage, right? So, but you would know it if you pay attention to your body.
Mhm.
That's the best part. And overall, I think the energy levels also change a lot. I mean, that's what I saw it. So now it's like 7 p.m. My first, my day started about 7:30 in the morning, but I'm quite energetic. I mean, I can go on talking with you for an hour and an additional hour, because I think so the energy levels, that difference, your productivity, everything goes up.